of great note today, of all the things that Ed Orgeron discussed, and there were many. I mean, he talked about the offensive and defensive lines. He talked about newcomers. He talked about planning for storms and how he's preparing his backup quarterbacks. And he talked about the battle for the third wide receiver spot and on and on and on. I mean, he went deep dive today on a lot of topics. But of greatest note, perhaps it's that we need to put out an APB, an all-persons bulletin. Let everybody you know that can play defensive back, that DBU is in the market for a defensive back.
We are currently researching that if there's a cornerback or maybe a nickel corner out there that's available, we may take them, and we could use them right now because we're a little short. We're icing up a couple of guys because of hamstrings, and nothing major. But we feel good. We feel good when it comes game time that we're going to have some corners there. We're going to be ready to play.
Holy!
Showed up the most.
Sorry about that. Holy moly! Man, oh man, are you kidding me? LSU? DBU? In immediate need of a defensive back? All men willing and able? Send applications to recruiting at LSU. I don't know if that's actually the email address. So we know what happened here, right? So Kary Vincent shows up to practice after coming back for his senior year. New defensive Bo Pelini. He looks around and goes, well, Stingley's on one side. Looks and goes, well, Flott's on the other side. And then he looked at Elias Ricks and Jay Ward and Dwight McLaughlin and Raydarius Jones and all these guys that look like tarantulas and said, yeah, man, uncertain season. New defense. All these freak shows around. Maybe I should just go get ready for the draft. And I totally respect that. Totally respect that. But it's left LSU in a spot now where Ed's looking around going, I got a spot. Maybe I could fill it with a defensive back, a veteran defensive back. This is going to be so interesting to watch. So we already know that the NCAA is not going to grant transfer waivers this year because of COVID. They're not going to grant transfer waivers. Instead, what they're doing is awarding anybody an extra year of eligibility. Now, that's not really a great deal because there's a lot of guys that aren't going to stick around college for another year. You may have some guys that are interested in maintaining another year of eligibility and playing it out, but not everybody's going to be in that mix. So, why? And I understand what the NCAA is doing. They're trying to maintain rosters. They're trying to make sure that rosters aren't gutted by this exodus of players that go and look for places to play. But if you're a grad transfer, if you're someone who is entering your senior season or is a grad transfer and thinking after the 2020 season, you're going to jump into the NFL and you don't want to stick in the Big Ten or Pac-12, given the uncertainty of this spring season or January season that may come. And realistically, if you are one of those players that's eyeing the NFL draft, why would you want to play in that season anyway in advance of the draft instead of going to combine and workouts? All the things we've talked about. There is a pool of players undoubtedly, juniors that have graduated in 3 years or seniors from those conferences that have played a lot of football that would make a ton of sense to jump aboard with LSU, play a season in the SEC, put some film out against some of the best talent in the country, join the champs, maybe have a chance to win another ring, and then go off to the NFL. And the timing makes this interesting as well. Consider this, though. A couple of years back, Terrence Alexander joined LSU as a grad transfer. You remember that story. He was a John Curtis guy, went to Stanford, played out his time at Stanford, had a year of eligibility, came to LSU, finished there and backup role. They ended up starting in that bowl game, if you remember, because they were so decimated because of injuries and opt-outs. That was July the 11th when Terrence Alexander signed with LSU. That felt late, and that was July. Now we're at the end of August. But it is worth mentioning that you do every year have transfers once training camp begins or fall camp begins. Remember when Justin McMillan, when Burrow came here in 2018 and McMillan and Lowell Narcisse, boom, boom, in consecutive days transferred out? Justin McMillan committed to Tulane on August the 24th. of that year, of 2018. So 2 years ago yesterday. So my point is, and that was a week before their opener. You still got 4 weeks. 4 weeks from Saturday, from this coming Saturday. So if you can identify a player, close the deal, get them on campus within a week, you're talking about still having a month to get them acclimated to your system, how they fit in your defense, and see if you can have a veteran guy on the field. Makes a lot of sense, man. There are Liam Shanahans and Jabril Coxes. Maybe not Cox, who might well be a first-round pick, but Shanahan, who was an all-conference player, who's played a ton of football over 4 years at Harvard and had another year to go. Bring him in at a position of need. Why not do the same thing at defensive back right here? I mean, I'll give you an example. I'm not saying this is a guy that would do it, but I'll give you an example of the type of player we're talking about. Malik Antoine, who's been on the show a couple times. Kid from Baton Rouge, went to U-High, went to Stanford. Well, he's going into his 5th year. He redshirted his first year. He's a starter at safety. He's a team captain. Well, now he's not going to have his fall season. Theoretically, a guy like that could join LSU, hit the ground running, play a season, and get into the draft come spring. And there's not a tremendous shortage of guys like that. It's just identifying who's willing to make that jump on short notice and jump aboard with LSU. Ed Orgeron, it's worth mentioning, did elaborate on that cornerback position. They're not threadbare. They just have the luxury of having an open spot. Remember, back in February, they signed 22. Since then, they've added Jabril and Liam Shanahan, so they're up at 24. So you could do one of two things. If there's a player available, sign him now, or hold the spot for this coming class and backfill. Either way, you're going to add a really good player, but if there's, as Ed said, if there's a player available that can help you now, why not take a look? But here's how Ed went through the rest of the cornerback depth chart.
Yeah, we're really pleased with Cordell Flott. I think that Cordell Flott has solidified himself as a starter, either in the nickel package or in the base package where he can play corner. Jay Ward is coming along. He's doing well. Obviously, we got Stingley and Elias Ricks, who's the best cornerback in the country. He's coming. He had a shoulder injury in the spring. He hadn't practiced. Man, you can see him getting better and better every practice. And Dwight McLaughlin is an excellent tall corner. He is tough. He is like glue on the receivers, breaks on the ball well. So I think we're a little short. We have one scholarship left.
So one scholarship left, but you got a lot of guys that you like there. We'll see if they can fill the spot here soon to get someone on campus. See if you can fill that spot vacated by Kary Vincent, add a little veteran depth to DBU. So put out that APB. Hey, if you know anybody who played DB back at Shaw in 84, and they still got some eligibility and a little giddy up, Coach O wants to hear from you. Okay, maybe not that much of a stretch. They're going to find somebody. You better believe the phone's going to ring. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.